This ain't just a channel, this is bbTV.
Happy Friday! Yeah, that's way too much energy for me today. Welcome to Ask a Bee and our new lane, TGIF AITA, and I think you know what that means. Real stories, real mess, and real verdicts. No music, no therapy, no polishing people's feelings today because I'm tired of it. Just sharp takes and honest judgment, if there is some. We've got 3 wild situations to sort through today, starting with an ex-wife, a new wife, and a very awkward Easter dinner. Y'all settle in because we're calling it like we see it today.
Welcome to Circle Back Friday, where we revisit the moments, lessons, and conversations that didn't quite finish themselves. Some things definitely deserve a second look. Welcome to
Boss be rising, bbTV's igniting. Turn the volume up, yeah, the whole world's invited. From the gravel road to the neon dream, she built an empire out of broken wings. Boss be rising, sky ain't even the ceiling. When she hits go live, everybody feels it.
Away now. Thank you. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Ask a Bee and happy Friday, y'all. I'm going to take a breath. And I'm going to do that with you for a second before we dive in because you know what? Today, it feels like one of those moments where the show itself is kind of shifting under my feet. Not in a dramatic, burn it all down kind of way, but in that slow, almost invisible way where you suddenly realize you've been standing in a room that doesn't quite fit anymore. I've spent a long stretch building this space very deliberately. Okay. The music, the stories, the reflection, the emotion, and the depth of that emotion, the way I've tried to hold both empathy and honesty at the same time. And a lot of that still matters to me, seriously. But I can also feel something different moving through me right now. And look, it's not anger. It's not bitterness. Okay. So don't get me wrong here. It's not even burnout, at least not in the way people usually mean it. It's more like clarity arriving a little late at night after you've already cleaned the house twice, washed the dishes, sat quietly thinking you were fine, only to realize you've been carrying weight you didn't actually agree to carry. So I've been sitting in this space where I felt responsible, not just for my own words, but everyone else's feelings, histories, wounds. And that kind of responsibility is heavy in a way you don't always notice until, it slaps you in the face and your shoulders ache and your patience is thin. So today I'm not abandoning compassion. Okay. I'm just stepping out of the role of emotional caretaker for every story that crosses my desk. Let's see here. I have a question. Is it pink? I have an answer. Thank you. Drive through. Anyway, as I was saying, and here's a little welcome. Look, I'm leaning into something that feels, I don't know, more natural to me, more immediate, and honestly, more fun, which is why we're shifting into TGIF AITA inside Ask a Bee. That doesn't mean I'm throwing out everything that came before, okay? Don't get scared. It means I'm refining what this space is really for. Ask a Bee has always been about real people, real situations, and my honest perspective, but somewhere along the way, it also became about trying to make meaning out of every single mess. And that's not sustainable. So there are some situations where the lesson is simple, where the humor is obvious, and where, the absurdity, it speaks for itself. And today We're going to sit in that instead of digging, okay, for therapy. We don't need that. I realized that laughing at human behavior, not cruelly, okay, not mean or spirited, but with clear eyes, is just as valid as trying to understand it deeply. In fact, sometimes laughter is the sharpest truth we have. We're going to look at 3 different AITA stories, okay? For those of us that do not know what AITA is, of course, you know what TGIF means, but AITA, and I'm going to say it and forgive me for the word, but am I the asshole is what that stands for. AITA, am I the a-hole? Okay. But this isn't like a Reddit kind of thing. Okay. I do know a couple of creators that I love to follow. Okay. Charlotte Dobra, beautiful, just got married. She's amazing. She's funny as hell too. Okay. And then we have Dustin Pointer. Okay, the Flag Man. I know you guys have seen him. If you haven't, you need to get over there because he is awesome. Okay, he is so funny. Honey roasted, absolutely, he's great. Y'all get over there and see him. Okay, but this isn't about Reddit. It isn't about spectacle, and it isn't about dunking on strangers. You guys, I get all kinds of letters, and I'm trying to make it possible to be able to read those letters. So that's what I'm doing with a little bit of a flip today, okay? We may work this level because I got a heck of a lot more AITA letters than I do anything else. Let me put it to you. We're not completely giving up the music, but let's be honest. YouTube is giving me a hard time with the music, and I am responsible for way too much to have that hard of a time. So we're just going to ease up a little bit and try this, okay? So this is about recognizing patterns in how people treat, I guess, one another. You know, how ego shows up in relationships. Definitely how entitlement creeps in quietly, which is not always quietly. Let's get real, right? And how boundaries get tested in the most ordinary settings like family dinners, workplaces, and birthday parties. Look, I've been thinking a lot about how often women in particular are asked to smooth over tension, to be polite when they're put on the spot. You know what? To shallow truth so everyone else can feel comfortable. And today, I'm intentionally stepping away from that script. I'm not here to make people comfortable, okay, at the expense of honesty. And I'm not here to make myself smaller so other people can feel bigger. That's a line I've been walking for years, and I'm done tiptoeing around it. I think YouTube is a great place for that. Stop tiptoeing. You know, it takes you a minute to get up here on this stage, and once you do, you tiptoe around. No, honey, the stage is yours. Take off. Be the bee. So, pardon me. Hazelnut coffee, renewed sense of hope. All right, this doesn't mean anything like I've lost my heart, okay? It means I'm finally letting my spine lead a little bit. You'll hear that in how I talk about these stories. I'm still thoughtful, I'm still fair, okay? But I'm also going to be blunt, a little more like myself. I mean, that's probably why my first name is Boss. Yeah. Not because, you know, I'm a boss bitch, okay? It's because I'm a boss bitch. All right, and unafraid to call behavior what it is. I want this space to feel like sitting at a kitchen table with someone who knows you well enough to tell the absolute truth without judgment, okay? But also without sugarcoating. I don't do that in my life. I'm not going to do that here either. I'm not here to fix strangers. I'm here to observe them clearly, okay? And laugh when the situation deserves it. I've also been honest with myself about the fact that music, while beautiful, has been taking up emotional and logistical space in the show that I don't think I actually need it really anymore. And I hope that's okay with y'all. It doesn't mean I'm quitting music completely, but I think we just need a new outlook. This is getting boring and nobody's showing up, right? So you do what you got to do to make it better without compromising yourself. And that's where I'm at. So I don't really need an artist to anchor my week or justify my voice or anybody else's voice for that matter. The stories themselves are enough. They should be. My reaction to them is what you tune in for, I think. And whether you always agree or not, that realization took me longer than I expected because I like depth. I like history. And I mean, I love history, okay? And I like meaning, but depth doesn't always have to be heavy. Sometimes it can be sharp and witty and even a little, I don't know, irreverent. But today you'll hear that balance. I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm just trying to be me. I'm not trying to impress anyone. I have a husband of 35 years. I don't need to be impressing anybody. I have what I have and what I need right here. So I'm not trying to impress anybody. And I'm not chasing algorithm magic, okay? Me and Bertha, we have an understanding. And believe me, that bitch don't like me either, okay? Pardon the language, but I'm simply choosing a lane that feels truer to who I am in this moment. And I want you to feel comfortable dropping your YTA or NTA, which is you're the asshole or not the asshole in the chat, disagreeing with me, okay? If you want to, laughing with me when something is ridiculous, and sitting quietly when a story lands close to home. There's room for all of that here. And I think it'll be a much more pleasant story for me to tell, because sometimes we just need chaos and different kinds of chaos. And I think AITA, chaos, is perfect for Boss B. Sassy, Texas, I got it. And I can be. And that's the real me. I've been sitting here hiding behind everybody else's mess. I don't want to do that anymore. So what I care about is that you feel like you can be honest in this space. Just as I'm being honest on screen, we're not pretending people are always noble, okay? We're not pretending conflict is always solvable. Sometimes people are messy. Sometimes they're selfish. And you know what? Sometimes they're funny without meaning to be. But sometimes they're dead wrong too. So today we're going to meet all of that head on without trying to wrap it in a bow. This shift doesn't mean Askabee is losing its soul. It means I'm sharpening it, because that's what we do here in the Iron Sharpening Iron universe. We sharpen ourselves and each other at the same time. And that's the way we roll. It's just how it goes. So I've always been good at reading situations quickly, at least my opinion, of course, noticing power dynamics and calling out total nonsense. And this format lets that strength shine. It really does, without making me responsible, okay, for everyone's emotional recovery. I can hold space without carrying it. Like, I can be kind without being a doormat. I can be funny without being cruel. That's the sweet spot I'm aiming for. So as we move into our first story tonight about an ex-wife, today, pardon me, I'm ready to go to bed, y'all. Yeah, my hair is just doing this Beyonce thing again. I'm trying to keep it real here. Every awkward this is a very awkward Easter dinner that I got this about. I want you to listen, not just for who was right or wrong, but for the deeper themes underneath that, okay? Who gets to control family history? Who gets credit for sacrifice? And how easily some women are expected to disappear so other people I don't know, can feel comfortable. Those questions matter even when we're laughing. Settle in with me. Take another deep breath if you need it. And let's step fully into this new rhythm because this is going to be fun, y'all. Okay. Now, let's get into this first AITA of the day. And this one lives right in the middle of family politics, ego, that very real tension between who a man used to be and who he is now. It's about an ex wife who carried the load while her husband built his career, and a new wife who only knows the polished version of him. Yeah, the flashpoint isn't actually the marriage, but who gets to define the past when everyone is sitting at the same table. As you listen, pay attention to power, timing, and how easily women get put on the spot in front of a crowd. This isn't a story about being petty, okay? It's a story about being publicly challenged to rewrite your own life. All right, I'm going to read these letters. That's how I roll. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think so. So, yeah, this one is good. I'm going to read this because, I got to give it some of me. Still working with this new teleprompter thing too. Sorry, forgive me. All righty, here we go with our letter. And I have no visuals for this one because this is an experiment, but I think this is going to be a fun experiment. So y'all bear with me. Sorry, I got one more thing to do here. All right, wait. All right. Y'all let me reboot my brain like an old router, okay? Lights blinking, vibes loading. We'll be dramatic for 12 seconds, and then we're back. Okay, good. Now, here's your letter. Dear B, I am 40 years old, and I was married to my ex-husband. We'll call him Jim, who is 49. For 20 years before we divorced. Wow, 20 years. 5 years ago, okay, that's 25 years, and we shared 3 children. All righty, 22-year-old daughter, a 20-year-old son, and an 18-year-old son. My goodness, she was busy, wasn't she? Our marriage did not end because of cheating or betrayal. That's good. That's good. It ended because over time, the imbalance between us became too heavy to sustain. I feel you. Jim worked extremely long hours to build what became a very successful career in the same field we both trained in. Uh-oh, that can't be good. And while I respected his ambition and appreciated that he provided financially for our family, I paid a real price for that success. Oh, honey, don't we all? I hear you. Okay, keep going. I put my own career on hold, often neglecting my professional growth so I could be fully present for our children, manage our household, and keep everything running smoothly while his career took off. Okay. During our marriage, he was a strong provider, but not a truly present husband or father. And although I am grateful for what he contributed, I also carried a great deal of resentment because I watched his professional life soar while mine stalled. Oh no. When we finally divorced, it was not out of hatred. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. It was out of exhaustion and clarity that our marriage had become unsustainable. And from that point forward, we made a deliberate decision that our family would not end. Good job. It would simply change form. Both of us remarried. We maintained a genuinely good relationship for the sake of our children and because, despite our history, we do like each other. Okay, then why did you divorce? For additional context, I later married David, who had been a mutual friend of Jim and me. Oh, There was no cheating, no overlap, and before our relationship became serious, we sat down with Jim and spoke openly about it. Okay, I like you. You're doing good, honey. You're doing great. All right, so he was actually happy for us. Good for him. Uh, and has never had an issue with our marriage. That's amazing. I'm so glad to hear that. But what's going on here? 4 years ago, Jim met Karen, of course, who is now 34. They married 2 years ago. And last year, they had their first child together, which has clearly changed his life and priorities. Okay. Since our separation 6 years ago, Jim and I have kept a standing monthly dinner with just us and our 3 children, no new spouses. So our kids would always have a protected space to talk openly with both parents and feel that they still belong to one family rather than two competing ones. Now, okay, I'm going to stop right there for just a second because I need to commend y'all for that because that is amazing. I wish my parents had done that. Of course, my parents weren't thinking about anything else other than the fact that they were just too damn young and they hadn't lived yet, okay? And I think a lot of our parents do that too, don't they? Yeah, okay. So back to the letter. The issue that brings me here happened at Easter when our entire extended family gathered at my former mother-in-law's house. Karen spent much of the day talking about what a wonderful husband and father Jim is to her and their daughter, which didn't bother me because I know he has more time now than he did when our children were younger. Y'all, is she making excuses for that? I hope not. All right, so I said nothing until she turned directly to me in front of the entire family and asked why I ever gave Jim up. Oh, no, she did not. You're lying. Adding a comment about me being too busy falling in love with my husband's best friend. Oh my gosh, y'all. That gave me chills. I'm about ready to jump through the screen. How about you? In that moment, I calmly replied, you know, Karen, he wasn't always a great husband and is only so wonderful now because I was willing to make a ton of sacrifices so he could have a successful career. But don't worry, you are very welcome for that. Oh, baby girl, yes. Thank you. That's how you do that. Thank you. So almost everyone laughed. Good, including Jim. Uh-oh. But Karen was furious and texted me later that night saying I had insulted her and Jim and that I shouldn't have been there anyway. I initially ignored her message, but she called the next day to continue the conversation, and I explained that my marriage to Jim and her marriage to Jim are very different. That while I am happy they are happy, she does not get to rewrite history or comment on the kind of husband Jim was to me. Ooh, you go, baby girl. I reminded her that Jim and I spent many years working through our issues, and that while she may have thought she was being funny, her comment came across as insecure. Ooh, good job. After posting about this online, I spoke with Jim, who told me he laughed because what I said was completely true. And that therapy helped him understand his past behavior. Yes. He also said that Karen's perspective is shaped by being younger and in her first marriage, and that they discussed the situation that night, and that although she is still processing, she is beginning to understand. He emphasized that our relationship took years of hard conversations, fights, and therapy to rebuild, and that Karen is meant to be an extension of our family, not a replacement. So now, okay, kudos for him, right? So now I'm left wondering whether I was justified in speaking up or whether I crossed a line. AITA. Am I the asshole? Oh. What y'all think? Come on, put it in the comments. I need to know what you think. Is she or is she not? Come on. I know there's a couple of you in here. You could do something for me here. Tell me, is she the asshole or is she not? Because let me tell you something. I don't think so. I think little Miss Newbie needs to take her butt on home, huh? Oh my gosh. Look, if I pause, I'm not buffering, I'm marinating. Wow. I mean, really, wow. For real? Seriously. Look, I'm serious, but not church serious. More like, Sunday brunch serious. Okay. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That's crazy, y'all. That is crazy. All right. Listen, dear conflicted but honest. Okay. The reason this situation feels so charged is because it was never really about one sentence at Easter. It was about ownership of history, power over narrative. It was. And the uncomfortable truth that growth does not happen in a vacuum, y'all. Come on. What Karen did when she turned to you in front of an entire family and asked you why you ever gave Jim up was not curiosity and it was not innocent admiration. Okay. Let's get that straight. It was a public reframing of your 20-year marriage. 20 years. Okay. That positioned her as the winner and you as the person who failed to recognize value. That kind of question is not neutral. And anyone pretending it is has either never lived through a long marriage or has never had their life out casually summarized by someone who wasn't there. You were placed on the spot in a room. Wow. Full of witnesses and expected to respond in a way that protected her comfort at the expense of your truth. And when you declined to do that, the room reacted because the truth has weight. Okay. When it's finally spoken out loud, you did not insult Jim. That really matters more than people want to admit. Okay. Because there is a massive difference between attacking someone's character and contextualizing their evolution. You did not call him lazy or cruel or worthless. You said he was not always the husband he is now. And that is the ability to show up differently in this stage of that. Oh my gosh. In this stage of life is tied directly, okay, to sacrifices that you made when he was building his career. That is not bitterness. It's casual, right? Men do not become better partners in isolation. They are shaped by experience, okay? Consequence, loss, and reflection. And in Jim's case, that reflection came after the marriage ended, not during it. Karen wants to live in a story where Jim simply matured naturally and arrived fully formed at her doorstep. But that version erases the cost of the years that came before her. And erasure is violence dressed up as optimism. When people laughed, including Jim, it wasn't because you were being mean or petty, okay? It was because the truth landed with recognition. And recognition often sounds like laughter when people don't know what else to do with it. Karen's anger afterward is not evidence that you were wrong. It is evidence that her fantasy was cracked in public. And fantasies tend to shatter loudly when reality intrudes. I'm sorry, her follow-up message telling you that you shouldn't have been there is the clear signal in the entire situation, because it reveals that what she actually wants is not harmony, but hierarchy. She wants a family structure where you are reduced to a footnote so she can occupy center stage without competition from history. That desire, it's understandable in someone who is younger. He was right about that part. In their first marriage and still forming their sense of relational security. But it is not acceptable, and it is certainly not your responsibility to accommodate. You are not a relic of Jim's past. You are a co-architect of his present, because the man she married does not exist without the marriage he had with you. And pretending otherwise is intellectually dishonest. People often struggle with this truth because it complicates the neat narratives that we like to tell ourselves about love and timing. But, complexity does not disappear just because it makes someone uncomfortable. You were not obligated to soften your response to protect her feelings after she initiated a comparison that inherently diminished your role. The expectation that you should have smiled politely, swallowed the implication, and allowed yourself to be quietly invalidated is rooted in a long-standing social script that tells women to preserve peace, even when peace is built on their silence. You chose not to perform that role. That choice does not make you cruel. It makes you honest. Could you have answered differently? Yeah, sure. But different doesn't mean better, does it? And restraint, it doesn't always equal maturity. There are moments when clarity matters more than tact. And this was one of them. You did not escalate the situation afterwards, which is another critical detail people gloss over. You did not rally family members to your side, and you didn't mock Karen. You didn't continue to needle your security or her insecurity. You spoke with her directly, explained your position, and drew a boundary around your lived experience, which is exactly how adults handle conflict when they are not trying to dominate or disappear. Your conversation with Jim further reinforces that you are not misremembering or exaggerating your past, because he acknowledged not only the truth of what you said, but the role therapy played in helping him understand it. That acknowledgement is not small, and it matters that he did not ask you to apologize for being honest, but instead took responsibility for communicating that reality to his wife. Karen's difficult processing this information is understandable, but understanding does not require compliance, and her discomfort is not an emergency you need to solve. Growth is often uncomfortable, especially when it involves realizing that someone else paid the price for lessons you had paid the price for or benefited from. The additional layer here that cannot be ignored, I think, is the gendered response you noticed in the reactions to your story. Okay, because if the roles were reversed and a man had spoken openly about sacrificing his career while his wife flourished, very few people would accuse him of resentment or bitterness. They would call it honesty or even quiet heroism. Women are routinely expected to frame their sacrifices as gifts freely. And they've been given freely rather than, gifts that are given freely rather than cost incurred. I'm not saying anything bad about men. Don't get me wrong here. That's just how it is. And when they name the cost, they are labeling ungrateful or hostile. Okay? All right, just 1 second, please, because I'm still not getting this thing right. And I have no idea why I did that. All right, hold up. 2 seconds. Forgive me. You know what? We're going to go ahead and take a break so I can get this fixed. I'll be right back. Thanks.
She came from the quiet storms, built a fire from the ground, turned a whisper to a warning. Now her voice shakes the town. Every setback was a lesson, every doubt became a key, unlocking something bigger. That's the rise of Boss B. When the lights go low, her vision hits high. She built a whole damn network off a promise and a try. Every sunrise, every moment, she's stacking legacy. This ain't just a channel, this is bbTV. Boss B rising, bbTV's igniting. Turn the volume up, yeah, the whole world's invited. From the gravel road to the neon dream, she built an empire out of broken wings. Boss B rising, sky ain't even the ceiling. When she hits go live, everybody feels it. She's the queen of the comeback, the storm in the stream, crafting stories out of heartbeats, making visions out of dreams. Got thunder in the hustle, got a voice that cuts clean. Every mic she touches turns the power unseen. So let brothers spin the numbers, let the views rise slow or fast. Boss B doesn't measure wins by echoes of the past. This moment is a pivot, this season's history. Bow down to the founder of the bbTV dynasty. Boss B rising, bbTV's igniting. Turn the volume up, yeah, the whole world's invited. From the gravel roads to the neon dream, she built an empire out of broken wings. Boss B rising, sky ain't even the ceiling. When she hits go live, everybody feels it. She's got fire in the head, it's got truth in the frame, got a heart that won't retire and a gift you can't name. Every loop, every letter, every dream she sets free, it's a love note to the world sign. Boss B. And the world keeps watching as the numbers climb, but she's counting all the moments, not the dollar signs. From the late night grind to the daylight scene, she's building something bigger than the algorithm's dream. Boss B rising, bbTV shining. Her story's rewriting, a legacy in real time. Boss B rising, bbTV's igniting. Turn the volume up, yeah, the whole world's invited. From the gravel roads to the neon dream, she built an empire out of broken wings. Boss B rising, sky ain't even the ceiling. When she hits go live, everybody feels it. bbTV, where the stories breathe. bbTV, where the dreamers believe. Boss B rising, watch her take her place. This is bbTV, this is her grace.
Join Boss B for Ask a Bee Monday through Friday, 12 noon Central Standard Time and Jukebox Journey every Saturday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time.
All righty. We're going to pivot just a little bit and go ahead and into the second story I got here. It's another AITA, and this one lives squarely in the world of workplace power, pettiness, and what happens when somebody finally snaps after being disrespected for months. It's about a broke hospital intern who keeps his lunch stolen, getting his lunch stolen by someone who's clearly knows better and doesn't really care. And the very human moment where frustration turns into revenge. This isn't just about food, it's about hierarchy, entitlement, and how people treat those beneath them when they think no one is watching. As you listen, think about who holds power here, about who's abusing it, and whether consequences look different when the person suffering them deserves it. Okay. This one is messy, funny, and deeply uncomfortable all at the same time. Okay. So here's letter 2. I'm reading this one too. Don't forget, this is an experiment, but I'm loving it. So, dear B, I am a 24-year-old medical intern at a general hospital. Okay. And like most interns, I am overworked, underpaid, and constantly reminded that I am the bottom of the hierarchy. Interns are not allowed to eat hospital food for lunch, which is fine with me because I prefer to bring my own meals from home. That's weird. Anyway, every morning I pack a lunchbox carefully, fruit, a main meal, sometimes dessert, and a drink because this is literally what gets me through long shifts. For the last 3 months, however, my lunch has been getting stolen. At first, it was small things like someone taking my fruit or drinking my juice, but over time, it got worse. Sometimes entire portions of my meal would be gone, and I would just sit there staring at an empty container, feeling both hungry and powerless. Girl, you better find out. So last week was the breaking point. Oh, good. Here we go. When I went to eat, there was absolutely nothing left. Not a single bite, not even the containers themselves. Whoever took my food didn't just eat it, they took everything, which felt incredibly disrespectful and personal. I mean, yeah, I was furious, but also embarrassed because as an intern, you're constantly told to keep your head down and not make waves. See, that's why I couldn't do this job. That night, after ranting to myself, I remembered a story I saw online about someone who booby trapped their food to catch a thief. Oh, really? And I decided to do something similar. Okay, time out, because this is an intern working at a hospital. I'm a little scared here. No, I have not read this whole story. I had somebody pick these out for me. I think it's better this way because then, I can get into it and not know what's going on and just like y'all. Okay, so the next day I bought the most expensive pudding in town. Oh, okay. Made sure the bakery logo was clearly visible on the packaging and used a syringe to secretly fill it with, laxatives. Okay. I also added laxatives to my main dish and my juice, thinking that if the thief took anything, they would pay for it. Oh. So I placed everything in my lunchbox, left it in the usual fridge, and waited. Oh. I'm almost afraid to read the rest of this one. Okay, when lunchtime came, I'm just kidding. My heart was racing, and sure enough, everything was gone again. The pudding was missing. My food had been disturbed, and my drink was gone. Part of me felt vindicated, like justice was finally coming. I had a strong suspicion that a particular nurse who openly dislikes me and often criticizes my work was the culprit. So I watched him closely throughout the day, expecting to see him doubled over in pain, and to my surprise, he seemed completely fine. Uh-oh. which made me feel guilty for wrongly accusing him in my head. Oh, then out of nowhere, my actual boss, a senior doctor who makes more than, oh, I don't even want to quote that number, suddenly developed a terrible stomach ache and had to leave work early. Wow. In that moment, it hit me that the person stealing from me wasn't some fellow struggling intern or overworked nurse, but a wealthy, powerful man who could easily afford his own food. The realization made me both furious and uneasy. Oh, baby girl, me too. Because I knew what I had done. I will never tell anyone at the hospital about this because I desperately need this internship and the tiny salary that comes with it. And I'm terrified of the consequences if this ever came back to me. Baby girl, get a cooler, leave it in your car. Okay, welcome to my brain. Minimal organization, maximum commentary. Okay, I'm trying. So still, I can't stop replaying it in my head and wondering whether I crossed a line, even though he was clearly in the wrong first. So B, I have to ask, am I the asshole for giving a thief diarrhea? What y'all think? Come on, there's a couple of y'all in here. You could give me an answer. What y'all think? Seriously. What would you tell them? Do you think they're the asshole or no? Oh my God. I mean, wow. For real? I don't even know what to say to this, to tell you the truth. No, I don't think you're an asshole. Okay. I'm going to say, there you go. I said it. Okay. I said it. I don't think it. I don't think you're an asshole. I think that doctor is an unmitigated asshole. Okay. I think, come on. I would love to know what this doctor's answer is to this. Okay. So, you know what, dear exhausted intern, this situation sits at a messy intersection, I think, of power, exploitation, and a little bit of human instinct. If we're going to judge it honestly, we have to be willing to look at all three without pretending anyone behaved like a saint. All right, what happened to you did not start with a prank. It started with months of disrespect for 3 straight months. Someone in that hospital refrigerator treated your food as public property. Not in a desperate one-time moment, but as a pattern of entitlement that gradually escalated from nibbling to full theft. You're not losing leftovers. You're losing the very thing that keeps you going through long, underpaid shifts in a system that already gives interns almost no power. When you say you felt embarrassed and powerless, that matters, okay? Because stealing from someone who has less than you, less authority, it's not rude. Okay, it's a quiet form of bullying that relies on hierarchy, okay, to avoid consequences. In a perfect world where you would have reported this, filed a complaint, or confronted whoever you suspected, but hospitals are not perfect worlds, right? And interns learn very quickly that speaking up can make you a problem, not a victim. So by the time you reach the week, when even your containers disappeared, your reaction was not born from pettiness, right? It was born from being pushed to a breaking point by a system that trains you to swallow your anger. The moment you decided to spike your food, it wasn't your finest impulse, okay? I probably wouldn't have, or maybe I would have. Who knows? But it was a very human one. Okay, I'll give you that. When someone keeps taking from you and you have no safe channel for justice, your brain looks for a way to level the playing field, doesn't it? I mean, come on. You didn't plan to harm a random person. You planned to catch a thief who had been violating your boundaries for months. That intention matters even if the method was reckless, okay? The fact that you brought an expensive pudding and clearly labeled it shows that you were not trying to poison everyone. You were baiting a specific behavior. That's human behavior, to bait. You know that, right? You wanted to identify who was stealing, not punish the entire workplace. That does not erase the risk you created, though. It does, however, change the moral framing from malicious to misguided. Where this becomes complicated is that you did not know who the thief was. And by acting without certainty, you opened the door for harm to land on somebody you did not intend. Watching the nurse you suspected go about his day unharmed and feeling guilty is actually one of the most telling parts of the story, because it proves you are not cruel. Okay. You didn't relish the idea of hurting him. You were relieved he was innocent. Okay. Your conscience was still active even in your anger, which, that really does separate you from someone acting out of pure spite. So the real twist, that your boss was the one who suffered, is what turns this from a petty workplace prank into a study of power dynamics. This is a man earning more in a month than you likely make in several. A man who could afford gourmet meals every single day. I mean, Uber, dude. And yet he chose to steal from the poorest person in the room, right? That is not a mistake. That is entitlement. People often want to paint high-earning professionals as automatically ethical, but money does not make someone decent. And in this case, it exposed his character. He knew you were an intern. Come on. He knew you were underpaid. And he still took your food repeatedly without remorse. That is not survival behavior. That is abusive position. When he ended up sick, the reaction many people would have is to call it karma. And while karma is not a legal defense, it is a moral one that resonates for a reason. You did not single him out. You did not target him specifically, and you did not owe him protection from consequences when he was the one violating basic workspace decency. Okay. However, and this is where your responsibility comes in. Okay. Intentionally contaminating food is in a shared space is dangerous, not just ethically. Okay. Because the first thing that I thought is, wow, what if they eat every single thing? Then they're having all that you put in there. You could not control who would take it. Okay. Now, while you're in a hospital setting, that's great, but you're in a hospital setting. The risk is magnified, is it not? So, what if a pregnant person, a diabetic, or someone with the medical condition had eaten it? You created a situation where harm could have landed far beyond the thief you were trying to catch. That doesn't make you a villain. Don't take me wrong, please. But it does mean your method crossed the line, even if your motivation was understandable. The smarter move would probably have been to document the theft, mark your containers, maybe escalate it through formal channels. HR loves that stuff. But I also want to recognize that interns are rarely empowered to do that without fear in retaliation. The system put you in a corner. and you reacted from that corner. Another layer that people will judge you for is that you kept quiet afterwards. You can't win. But your silence is not cowardice either. It is survival in a workplace where your career can be crushed by the wrong accusation. You're not obligated to confess to protect a man who showed no concern for well being. But you also have to live with the knowledge of what you did, which is clearly weighing on you. That tension is the spark of someone who cares about right and wrong, not someone who is morally indifferent. Okay. Now let's talk about whether you are the asshole. Okay. In strict ethical terms, spiking food is dangerous and wrong. Okay. I will not pretend otherwise. Pardon me. I refuse to pretend otherwise. Let's call it what it is. You took a risk that could have harmed an innocent person, and that matters. But there's a but. I know I hate it when people do that to me, but I'm going to do it. Morality is rarely black and white. And in this case, your wrongdoing exists inside a larger pattern of wrongdoing that started long before your prank. Okay. The boss who stole from you is not a victim here. He is the original offender who exploited his power and your vulnerability. You did not wake up wanting to hurt someone, okay? You wanted to stop disrespect. There's nothing wrong with that. That distinction is important. If we are measuring who behaved worse, it is not even close. A wealthy doctor stealing food from a struggling intern for months is far more morally repugnant than an intern lashing out with a poorly thought out trap. Okay. Your action was reckless. Sure. His was greedy. Sure. Yours came from frustration. His came from entitlement. Yours was a single moment. His was a repeated pattern. In that light, okay, I cannot call you the asshole in the way that people usually mean it. Okay, you are not malicious, cruel, or heartless. You are a young person pushed to the edge in hierarchical system that gave you no safe outlet. At the same time, I would be lying if I said your method was justified, okay, because it wasn't. You crossed a safety line. Even if your target deserved the consequences, the better question is not, are you an asshole, but were you wrong and human at the same time? And the answer to that is yes. You were wrong in how you handled it, but understandable in why you did it. That nuance matters more than a simple YTA or NTA stamp, okay? If there is a lesson here, it is not that you should feel crushed with guilt. Not at all. It is that you need a safer way to protect yourself from going forward. Okay? Mark your food. Photograph your lunches. Escalate the issue through formal channels or coordinate with other interns to call out the thief. Okay? And do it collectively. So you're not standing alone. You should have not have to endure being stolen from to keep your career intact. As for your boss, whatever embarrassment or discomfort he felt is not something you owe him relief from. He was not entitled to your silence, your sympathy, or your food. If anything, this incident exposed a serious character flaw that, you know what, someone in his position should be deeply ashamed of, I would think. I mean, tell me if you agree. So my answer to you is this. You are not the asshole in spirit, okay? Because your anger was justified. Your victimization was real, but your method was dangerous and crossed a line you shouldn't repeat, okay? No one's scolding you here. Just consider that next time. You were pushed into a bad decision by a bad situation, and that is very different from being a bad person. It's very human. You deserve better treatment than you received, and I really do hope you find a way to protect yourself that doesn't put your conscience or anyone's health at risk. Okay? Let's consider that first. We don't want to do that, do we? I mean, let's be safe about this because come on. That stuff is hard. So I did say that I had 3 for today, but we just hit our hour mark. You guys, I need to know, what do you think about this? This is pretty good. I like this. I feel good about this. Not getting very many comments here. I know there's 5 of us watching, and that's okay. You don't have to comment. But if you like this, if you like my AITA improvements, then how about hit that thumbs up for you, girl, huh? Yeah, can you do that? I would love it. All right, so that is TGIF AITA. Okay, thank you from Twitch. All right, so that's it for today. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to say that, they're my Patty friend. I know how you feel. Of course I know how you feel. You love me just like I love you. Love you, sweetie. I know you're always back there. I'm just trying to get everybody else to get in here. You be busy over there, honey. And I love you. All right. So I really like the AITA. I have to tell you though, okay, this is the lane that actually lets me breathe a little bit. 2 stories. I had 3. And I got to talk to y'all about this. See, look, I'm going to be plain and simple right here. I have ADHD and staying focused sucks because it just doesn't work that way. Okay. ADHD as an adult is worse than when a kid. Okay. Because sometimes I go off on a tangent that is so crazy. So I have to have talking points. I have to have some kind of script to keep myself grounded. And today, yes, I had all that, but I didn't use it near as much because I'm starting to get so much more comfortable and I'm able to stay more focused. So 2 stories today because I had 3 and decided against it for over our hour, number 1, and it'd be probably another half an hour with that 3rd story. But we're coming back with this. I like this. I feel comfortable with this. And you guys, this was fun. This was fun for me. So 2 stories, no music to wrangle, no emotional triage, to perform, just sharp eyes, honest takes, and voices in the chat, helping me see every angle. I love that. I love being able to laugh at some of this stuff. I hate sitting in the same atmosphere, it gets rough. So anyway, what I'm going to do now is go ahead and turn it on over because y'all know I got to shout out my buddies. Tuber Chat. They are the bestest. Seriously, y'all need to get over there, get involved because just go over and look at it. I don't know what else to say other than that it's so freaking cool. You got to go watch and be a part of it. Okay, you guys? I love you. Here's some Tuber Chat.
Before we roll on, I want to take a second to shout out Tuber Chat, because once again they showed up and held space the way real community does. This channel isn't about noise or numbers chasing, it's about consistency, respect, and actually supporting creators without strings attached. That matters more than people realize. If you're looking for a place that lifts voices instead of talking over them, Tuber Chat is that lane. I appreciate the time, the encouragement, and the steady presence more than I can properly wrap into words. So much love to the Tuber Chat crew for doing what you do and doing it the right way.
Oops, missed one.
If you're enjoying this show, subscribing is the easiest way to support what's being built here on bbTV. You'll see the join button right next to subscribe. No pressure, no expectations, just an option for people who want to support the channel in a real way. We're live weekdays at 12 p.m. Central, and each day has its own focus. Same honesty, same voice, just different conversations depending on the day. And if you've got a story...
A boss be right.